was most excited about coming to this conference is being able to meet in person all the people that I've known online for so long, like a year. I've been able to talk to a lot of you. I know a lot of you. I've become really good friends with quite a few of the people that are here, although I have to say that Ken is really asking to be blocked on Facebook. He's been sending me spider gifts for the last hour, as well as people in the back row, so watch your back. That's all I can say. I'm not a big fan of spiders. So if any of them raise their hand, that's why I'm going to ignore them, because it's going to be a question about bacon, cats, or...
I have the mic.
Watch your back. That's all I can say. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about creating great merch listings that are going to get you more organic sales. I've talked to quite a few people over the last year. I've done a lot of consulting. And kind of without fail, that tends to be the one sticking point for people that has come up again and again. People have kind of a hard time with the keywords. So we're kind of going to dig into that a little bit and help you guys figure out how to make it a little bit more simple. So my background, I am a wife and a mom of four. I live in Arizona. I love being able to do this from home because it gives me the flexibility to just be with my kids. A lot of people ask me, how do you do that with 4 kids? And the reality is you just kind of have to make time. And a lot of people that I talk to are busy with whatever it is. A lot of people have full-time jobs and they do this. You can do it part-time and on the side. And it just kind of goes to prove that merch is good for anybody in any situation. And, you can scale it up and do a lot of things. My background online, quite a few years ago, I started out doing some copywriting, so I did gigs kind of on the side. I have always loved to write. English was my favorite subject in school. I looked at my closet the other day and I found 20 volumes of journals that I had filled out from the time that I was 6 and able to kind of start writing up until I graduated high school. I would write in it every single day, and my dream ultimately was to become an author. And that didn't happen, but I've been able to kind of use those passions and those skills for copywriting, and then now it's really helpful when I write merch listings because I kind of understand the game. After doing some copywriting, it didn't really pay that well, so I kind of started exploring other avenues, and I did a little bit of affiliate marketing, CPA offers. I didn't do so great in that arena, so I moved on. I was in domain sales and brokerage for quite a while, and that was good money when it was good money. You got a great sale, a big sale, and it would last you for a while, but then when it was nothing, it was nothing. It just wasn't stable enough. And so I was kind of searching for something that I could do that would bring me consistent money and that I could do it on my own. And that's when I found Amazon FBA. So my first experience with Amazon was private label. And a lot of you in here, I think, have done that already. But I built up my brand. I had several products, and I was doing really, really well, scaling up, had grand plans. And kind of within the FBA communities, the Facebook groups, I heard these whisperings of merch. And at first I didn't give it any credence. I heard about this Chris Green guy, I had no idea who he was, and thought, well, maybe that's something I can sign up for. And I heard at the time that it was something that you could just get into. This was back in, I think, 2015, right after it had opened. And I thought, I have time. I totally have time. It's no big deal. So I decided that I was going to sign up for it, and it was the day after merch closed down for everybody that I decided today is the day, and then I realized I was too late. So the lesson there is you really want to make sure that you jump into an opportunity when the opportunity presents itself, because it could go away. So I was on the waiting list. I waited, I think, 2 months, and finally got accepted, and I didn't think much of it at first. I thought, this is something cool, I can try it. Back then, those were the days when a little bit more of everything goes. Politics was huge. Bernie Sanders was huge. So I think it was during the time when Bernie, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but he had a bird that flew and landed on his shoulder. And that was a big thing. It kind of went viral. And I thought, maybe I can make a shirt about that. So I made a shirt about the bird coming on Bernie Sanders' shoulder. And then I posted it in a Facebook group when somebody was asking about a shirt with the bird on it, and I said, well, here's one that I made, and immediately got 7 sales within 20 minutes. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Maybe I can do more of this. So that was kind of my first inkling that merch could be something cool, that could be something big. So then I really dove in, and I would say within the first 2 months of merch, me being in merch, I completely switched my focus from FBA to really focusing on merch because I could see the potential and it was huge. So that was kind of the start of my Merch by Amazon journey. And dedicating all your time and resources into this thing, I really came to understand a couple things. One was the listing is super important when it comes to organic sales. Now, a lot of you guys probably know how to do marketing outside of Amazon, and that's awesome. But when you're talking about just organic sales, and by organic sales, I just mean you don't do anything outside of Amazon. You make your listing, you put it up there, and you get sales without having to pay any money. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So this may seem a little weird, but we're going to talk about Craigslist a little bit because it's relevant, I promise. This was kind of my first experience being on Craigslist, learning why keywords are important in a listing, not just merch listings, but any listing. Back when I was first married, we were super poor, super broke. We didn't have any money, and so I pretty much lived on Craigslist. Anything that we wanted to buy for our home, furniture, whatever it was, I was the Craigslist queen. That's what I was called. And so I had to find out, how do you find good deals? If I had anything to sell, I had to figure out how am I going to sell this? How am I going to get as many eyes on my listing as possible? And so I quickly found out that the way that you do that with Craigslist is you have to have the right keywords. So an example of this, a couple weeks ago, we were going to have a guest come stay at our house. And so we needed to, make the guest room guest ready. We didn't have anywhere for this guy to sleep, and I wasn't going to have him be on my carpet. That would be embarrassing. So I wanted to have a sofa bed. And so I went to Craigslist. I wanted to see if there's anything, a little bit cheaper than going to the store and getting one that was brand new. So the first thing I typed in was sofa bed. And there were a few things that popped up. None of them really caught my eye. And then I realized that people have a lot of different terms for sofa bed. So there's couch bed, and then a whole other set of furniture popped up that I hadn't seen the first time. And then after I thought about it for quite a while, I came up with a ton of variations of words that meant the same thing. And so there's, sleeper couch, sofa bed, sofa couch, sleeper sofa, pull-out bed, hide-a-bed, fold-out bed, convertible sofa, twin sleeper. All of these words that meant the same thing, and these people that were writing these listings usually only used one. And the problem with that, since they didn't use other variations, is that they weren't getting as many eyes on their listings. They were only getting people that would type in that specific word. And so back when I was learning Craigslist, I learned that in order to really get as many eyes as possible on my listing to get the best chance of it being sold, I had to do a really good job of using all of these different keywords. Now, this is a lot of keywords, and you don't want to keyword stuff, but it's just kind of the illustration of the principle of the thing. When you're thinking about what people are going to type in, people use different words. So, so the lessons learned from Craigslist can apply to merch. Some of the same principles apply. So with Craigslist and merch, your main goal is to get your listing and your ad found. And the reason for this organically is if you have an amazing design, if you have an amazing niche, it doesn't matter if nobody sees your shirt. It could be the most awesome design. It could be perfect for your target audience, but if nobody sees it, then there's no point. So you want to get eyes on your shirt. If you have 60 pages worth of listings and yours is at the very back because it hasn't had any sales yet, then there's just no chance. So the main point of SEO and keywords is to get eyeballs on your listings. That is the main goal. And then once that happens, there's a snowball effect. Most of you know when your shirt gets one sale, then what typically tends to happen afterwards is it gets another sale, and it just kind of snowballs from there. And then the ranking will also improve. So what I have found is there's three main goals, or there's three main keys to organic sales. So the niche research is a big one. We've kind of talked about that during this conference. You got to know what's going to sell. You can't, Ken's favorite thing to say is you can't just throw dry spaghetti on the wall. That doesn't work. You need to throw the wet spaghetti on the wall so it'll stick. And then you need to have designs that are geared towards your target audience and your niche audience. You don't just want to design stuff that you personally like. It doesn't matter what you like. It matters what your target audience likes. And that's kind of been discussed as well. And then the final thing is keywords and listings, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So, move right along. The first step that I always tell people is you really need to get familiar with the terms of service. It's amazing to me how many people come to me with questions, or they wonder why their design got rejected or why it got taken down. And I ask them, did you look in the back end and did you look at the terms of service to see what's allowed and what's not allowed? And they say, no, I didn't even know. I didn't even look back there. So, and it changes too. There's updates. It's not all-encompassing. So you need to continually be looking at the terms of service to see, what merch wants you to write in your listing and what's not allowed. So some of the stuff in here is kind of self-explanatory, like the spelling should match. If you have a typo, you need to fix it. If it's something that's spelled this a certain way on your design and you spell it differently in your listing, you need to fix that. It needs to be congruent. You can't solicit customer reviews. Let's see what else. And inaccurate product descriptions is a big one. A huge thing for merch, a huge thing for Amazon is they want you to be relevant. So many people will put keywords and descriptions that have nothing to do with your design. And that really is kind of, it just doesn't work long term. It's a short-term gameplay because you're trying to get as many eyes as possible on your design. But the problem with that is the algorithm. If somebody is searching for a cat shirt, you have cat as a keyword in your design or in your listing, but your shirt is about a dog. Somebody's looking for a cat shirt. They're not looking for a dog shirt, so they're going to pass over your listing. And every time that happens, again and again, Amazon knows that they don't want that shirt, they don't like it, so they're going to push you lower and lower down the ranks. So it really hurts you instead of helps. So make sure you're looking at TOS. Here's an example of a shirt that has inaccurate keywords in the design. So they've specified that if you have a shirt that has, maybe a lot of this came up last year with Halloween, like you put a skeleton on there, or you put something that might be considered glow in the dark, or it looks like it's glow in the dark, but it's obviously not. And if you put something like this in your description that says it's a glow in the dark effect, that's a big no-no. You can't be inaccurate with that. So just make sure you're not doing that. Another big no-no is keyword stuffing. So there's kind of different trains of thought on what consists of keyword stuffing, but this is a really good example of what not to do. So you can see in this description it's repeating words over and over again. So dad, best dad gifts, dad and baby matching shirts, dad and daughter, dad and son, like dad is written in there like 20 different times. You don't need to do that. It's pretty simple. You can just go to thesaurus.com. I use that site all the time to find words if I'm kind of having a brain block that mean the same thing. So, besides funny, you could use amusing, hilarious, silly, witty, sarcastic, and again, it should be relevant to your shirt, but any of these, are good substitutes for funny. And if you use a couple maybe different variations of it and weave it in naturally to your description or to your bullets, keywords, or title, then your shirt has that much more chance of being found, because even though there aren't as many people that will use a different word other than funny, there are people that will use those words. And so you have to think about that. The first sale that you get from that one person that uses clever instead of funny is going to help push you up the BSRs. So here's another example. Exercise. I like using this as an example because exercise is a big niche, or niche. I'm not sure which one. I've gotten in trouble for saying niche before. Who says niche? And who says niche? Okay, maybe I'm right. Niche. I say niche. It's fine. So then we can drill down a little bit. So thinking of words that mean the same thing or related terms. Fitness, definitely one of them. I say I'm going to go work out. I never say I'm going to go exercise. I say I'm going to go work out today. Warm up, train. There are a million different things that you can do and think of that will mean the same thing or related to the niche that you're talking about. So an important thing to do when you're researching a niche and you don't know the niche very well, you need to learn the lingo. So think about what kind of terminology is associated with that niche. And you can Google it. You can research. If you don't know anything about tennis, Google it. Go find some tennis sites that you can figure out, what are the lingo words for tennis? What are the slang terms? What are the nicknames? What are alternative ways of saying the same thing? And that'll really help get your brain kind of started to do this. And then you always want to keep in mind what your target audience is. Maybe I don't like tennis, so I don't really understand what kind of style, what kind of design tennis people might like. So that's another thing that's important to keep in mind and keep it relevant. So if you're not an expert on the niche, what can you do? So I just typed this in. I'm not really a gym rat. I go to the gym, but I mostly just stay on the elliptical machine and watch Price is Right. That's that's kind of my jam. But if I was a gym rat, that would be easy. I'm not. So you just Google gym lingo, and immediately all of these different sites will pop up that you can click on, and you can click on keyword plus lingo. You could do keyword plus jargon, slang, terms, words. I promise it'll bring up a ton of stuff that you can just click into and go and immediately find ideas. This is how you can spark your brain to kind of keep working on this. So for this one, I typed in gym terms, clicked on a website that was like the second pop-up there, and got a great list of different words that I probably wouldn't have known. I would have had no idea what beasting it up means. You can easily put, I hope that's nothing inappropriate. I didn't even look that up. So anyway, so yeah, beasting it up. I'm assuming that means like you're hulking out or lifting heavy. I don't know. Judi Dench. Again, I hope that I've never heard of that before. Maxing out, but again, like somebody who does know these terms might be looking for that phrase, and just me being able to find out what these terms mean. And it's kind of nice because in the bottom here it says how to use it. This guy is properly beasting it up in the pit. I would never say that. Like, that's not something I would say. It's not me. Cardio bunny, I do know that word because of Neil. Anyway, that's what he calls me. Anyway. Because I don't lift, I only do cardio. So here's my shout out to Merch Informer, and I'm not doing this because he's paying me, not doing this because he's my buddy, but I actually use it. It's really, really helpful when you do any kind of research for keywords as well. So a great thing about Merch Informer is you can go to Merch Hunter. If you're researching a niche, you type in your keyword here, and I just used Eclipse as an example because I figured it would be a good thing to do since it's already passed, and hopefully this is not going to, take up anybody's shirts here. But here's a couple. Actually, we'll go here first. So once you type in, I figure most people here have heard of Merch Informer or are using it, and if you're not, then you should. But the results here, they show you all of the shirts that are in order of the top ranking to the bottom ranking. And it makes it really, really easy to do research on your listings because it shows you in a really easy format what are other people doing, what are their features, what are their descriptions, and you never ever want to copy anybody else's work. That's not what I'm saying here. But you can get ideas because other people have done work and they have used keywords that you might not have thought of before. So when you're doing your research, you can definitely look at all of this stuff and then use it to formulate your own original listing. And then it also gives you an idea of, what's selling well and what's not selling well. So here's a good example of a shirt that did really great with their keywords. They included a lot of relevant terms. They included a lot of adjectives. 2017, solar eclipse, phases, totality. You want to make sure it makes sense and it's in proper sentence structure. And then in the feature section, they used other keywords that are relevant like August, US, coast to coast, Americans, the splendor of nature, cosmic proportions. So this is really, whoops. This popped up that you tagged me. Anyway, thank you. So this is a good example of a shirt. You did. You did indeed tag me. And then here's another example. So the great thing about using Merch Informer is you can quickly and easily see listings that are killing it and what they're doing with their keywords, and then you can kind of combine stuff because other people might use keywords that you didn't think of before. So here's another one that was killing it in the search results, and this has different keywords that I wouldn't have thought of before too. So that's something that you can really use to your advantage. Description. So description, I didn't used to put a description in my listings at all, and that was a mistake. And the reason I didn't was because I thought, it doesn't matter. It's not part of Amazon's search algorithm, and so that therefore means it doesn't matter. But what I didn't consider is, especially on mobile devices like on your iPhone, if you click into a listing and you look at it, the description is actually prominently featured. And it sometimes can depend because Amazon switches up things a little bit. They A/B test quite a bit. But the last time I looked, it still is prominently featured. So it's a great place for you to put a call to action. Because when you're thinking about sales and marketing, if somebody's looking at your shirt and they are looking at the listing, if they are kind of tipping, they're like, I don't know if I should buy this, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. If you have a call to action and you tell them why they need this shirt, it's going to help them make that decision. Because usually, a shirt is like an emotional purchase. They really want to have a connection to the shirt. It's something that they buy because they feel passionate about it or it's really funny. So if you can help them with that decision, just tip it over a little bit with your little bit of copywriting skills, call to action, tell them to buy the shirt, tell them why they need the shirt. That's a really good thing. So once I started doing that, my sales went up, my conversions were a little bit better. So it's a really good thing to do. And you don't have to make it, huge, long. You don't have to stuff a bunch of keywords in there. That's not necessary. You can keep it short and sweet, but do include it. It's important. Let's see. A catchphrase? Is that what you said? Oh, catcher. Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I might say something like, this shirt would make a perfect gift for your friends and family that love blah, that love this hobby. Something simple. And you're telling them why it would make a great gift, first of all. I usually like to say that because, gift, especially during the holidays, that's a really good thing to put in there. But it could be for any occasion. And then you're telling them, people who love this hobby, buy it, it's going to be great. Something simple like that. Yeah. And then one thing I also like to do, you don't want to put a link in there, but you can also refer customers to your brand to shop for similar shirts. So if you have a brand that has maybe it's a niche brand, or maybe you have a brand that has all of your shirts in it, you can say at the end, visit our brand, click on our brand, and see more shirts of this kind. So especially if you have variation designs, which Michael kind of covered before, which we'll cover now a little bit. If you take one concept or phrase and you spin it into multiple different listings by changing a word or changing a picture or something like that, then people might look at your shirt and say, wow, this, tennis is the best. It's a very generic example. But maybe they have a sister or cousin who plays baseball and they really love your shirt and they think, hey, I would love to get this shirt, but in a different color, or, for somebody else who likes a different sport, I wonder if they have more. So if you include that in your description, then that just prompts them to go click on your brand and to go look for more, and then you can have multiple sales. So it's just a little bit more of that tipping. And then, here's just an example. So if you had a shirt like this that said, tennis always puts me in a better mood. You could make a ton of variations for all sorts of hobbies and sports, animals, foods, holidays, careers. It kind of makes it easy. And the other thing about variation designs that I do quite a few of them, is when you are doing your listing, that's kind of a time-consuming process. Doing your listing, it tends to be time-consuming. But I do use a Chrome extension. How many of you have heard of Speedy Uploader or use it? Just a couple of you? I love it. And I realize right here it only has a 1-star review, but I think it's awesome, and it works really well. And all it is a Chrome extension, and you put all of your stuff in a Excel spreadsheet like this. So you have a section for brand, title, price, bullet 1, bullet 2, and description. And if you have a variation design where you can use the same stuff for almost all of it, then you can list it all out like I have here. And then the Chrome extension, once you get to the portion of your merch listing upload process where you have to put in that information, this extension will do it all for you. So you don't have to type it out. So that just makes it a lot easier if you're doing variation designs. So some don'ts. This is kind of a recap. Don't use keywords that aren't relevant to your design. We went over that, and it's really, really important. You don't copy other people's listings. Don't make sparse use of this space in your title and your bullets. Use up the space. Make sure that you're making use of it. It's important because then you could just put more keywords in that are rich and that will help your stuff get found. Don't not enter a description. Trademarks. Remember to check for trademarks. Sometimes, not even sometimes, always, even individual words. I think I've talked to people that have searched for trademarks that are on their design, but they totally forget to check for trademarks that they put other places in their listing. And sometimes even single words can be trademarked, and it's tricky, and sometimes it doesn't seem fair. But the reality is, if it's trademarked, and you can't use it. So I spend a lot of time checking trademarks. Individual words, phrases, portions of phrases, make sure you're covered. And if you do variation designs, again, it makes it simple, because then you have to do the main portion of the work, the good chunk of the work, one time. Once you know you're clear and you're safe, then you can use it over and over again. So the do's: use Merch Informer. It's awesome. Be original, don't copy. That's just, common sense. Use adjectives, synonyms, and related terms. That's probably my biggest takeaway. When somebody is describing a shirt, they might be putting down, cat shirt, but usually they're a little bit more specific. If it's something for a girl, they're more likely to use an adjective like cute or adorable. So if your shirt is something that could be described as cute or adorable, then put that in there. Put that in there so that, that gives you that much more chance. And weave it in naturally to your sentence. Write a compelling description, include a call to action, and use the source and Google to help you research your niche lingo. The final thing I kind of want to put out there is, I think a lot of people are intimidated by keyword research and by listing. And the reality is, you don't have to be an expert at it. It just takes a little bit of practice, and just a little bit of keyword work can go a long way. It really can. I've coached people who, absolutely knew nothing about this, and they were really intimidated. I kind of walked them through this process and said, hey, just go to the source. Find some related terms that are related to your niche. Just put them in there, weave them in there, make a couple sentences. They tried it out, and instantly they had results. So just work at it. Try and make sure that you're, not getting discouraged, and you'll get better at it. It really does take practice, but it's not rocket science. It just takes a little bit of practice. Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
How much do your bullets vary? Let's say if you have 100 cat shirts, a lot of people will have a different brand, different title than the same bullet, 3 bullets for all their cat shirts. Or do you give it, if there's similar, let's say cat runner, cat jogger, cat swimmer, they'll change the title and the brand, but the actual bullets will be, very similar.
Very similar. That's a good question. I think ideally you want to make it as unique as possible to your shirt. And I recognize that does take time. If you're gonna reuse your bullets in your features section with shirts that are within the same niche, I would say as long as it's relevant, that is okay, but it's not ideal. The more specific that you can be, the better, because then people that are looking for a pink cat whatever shirt are going to find your pink cat whatever shirt. If you have a blue cat whatever shirt, they're not going to be looking for that. So if you're, I would say yes, you can do that, but if you have the time and you really want to work on it, that would be even better to make it original and specific.
Now, how many colors do you usually do 5, or do you just do 1 or 2?
Ready?
I'll wait for him to throw it at you. Can you?
Colors. What do
Okay.
you suggest for using up all 5, or just doing a pink one, a separate listing, blue, so it stands out more?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a hard and fast rule for that one. I used to use up all the available colors because I figured, hey, they're there, then I should use them up. And for a while there, I decided that I wasn't going to do that because, as most of you know, merch does not allow you to choose the preview image. And so it's for me, I was always like, why does it choose the worst one possible? Of all of the colors, it chooses that's the worst one. So I would always choose the colors that really did actually look good against my design. I typically do dark. Those tend to sell better for me. So if it's a design that really only looks good against 2 colors or 3 colors, I will only choose 2 or 3 colors because that's important. That first preview image that you see or that the customer sees can make or break that purchasing decision. So it really does depend. And I have other designs that look good on all 5, so I'll use all 5.
Oh, you will?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, I understand the synonyms and doing all that, but let's say I find awesome synonym words.
how do I know anybody's gonna put those in search to look for? I'm using those words.
That's a good question. You know, I don't always know. Sometimes it is a guessing game. But what you can do is you can go, you know, if you're going to go on thesaurus.com and you're going to look at all the different words, it's usually pretty easy for me to tell which words I have never even heard of sometimes and I would never use, or if it's a word that's somewhat common. If it's a more common term that I would use in a regular sentence talking to somebody, then I would probably put it in there. You know, for example, I'm trying to think of a really abstract word for funny that I would never use. If it's really abstract and out there, humorous, maybe not, you know, right? But clever, I probably would. Sarcastic, that's a big one. You know, if you're designing, it's funny and sarcastic are different, but they can also be the same. Like it can be sarcastic and funny. Something can be funny but not sarcastic. So you have to think about what fits.
Okay, so you don't look each of those words up on Merch Informer and Google Trending to find out, is this a really powerful keyword?
You know, I could. I don't always, yeah. I kind of developed a sense for it now where I don't always have to look up everything. But if you're new, then you definitely can do that research. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I can do it.
You mentioned, I guess I just needed clarity on phrase match versus, you know, exact match in keywords. I mean, does anyone really know that? Are we pretty sure that if I do clever and cute cat shirt, that clever cat shirt will still rank because they're not next to each other in, you know, as a phrase?
Yeah, that's not, it's, the order of the words is not important. As long as they're in there, it still works. And so having clever and cute in your listing, it doesn't mean that somebody has to type in both in order for your listing to show up. It will show up somewhere in search for either one of those words.
But does it have a stronger rank for the ones that are the phrase, I guess?
You know, I am not 100% positive on that one. So I don't know if I can give you a definitive answer. I don't think so.
And then does it matter where those particular words are placed? I'm assuming title has the most.
Title has the most weight.
Then brand, and then.
I think it's bullets and features, and description doesn't get pulled from it all. Brand does. Brand actually does. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just to follow up to that then, if your most powerful keyword that you had, that you just, this is my number one keyword, does that go in your title or your brand?
Title.
For sure.
Yep.
And then what, like, let's say you have 10 and you've ordered them in the top. Where does brand, is that last after bullets and features?
I'm not sure if there's an order. I'm pretty sure it's title, bullets and features, brand, and that's pretty much all there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turn around.
There's someone we could probably ask tomorrow about this, right? We'll get some good answers, right?
Yeah, and I love talking to people. I love meeting people. So anytime you want to come up to me personally afterwards and talk about this, I would love to.
What about the decision between plurals and singulars if you have a choice?
That's a good question. I think I knew this answer at one point, and I'm not sure anymore. I think it doesn't matter. I don't know if anybody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, and you know definitively. I think that it doesn't matter. I think that the plural is accounted for, but I can't give you a definitive answer.
I liked your idea about the referral, like to find more attractive cat T-shirts. Please, I keep saying cat. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Please search Robin's Tees cat. How do you word that?
So if you're talking
you
about your
wanna
brand,
put if my brand was Robin's Tees,
yes.
is that how I would say it?
Yep, because your brand will be at the top of the listing and it's clickable. So in your description, and you could put it in your bullets too if you wanted to. I just like using my bullets for the keywords.
Right, I would put it in my
But
description.
in my description, I would just refer them to my brand. I would say, check out this brand for more T-shirts that are similar in style, or however you want to put it. I would just tell them to check out this brand, make it sweet and simple and automatic, and tell them to click on it because they don't always know that it's clickable.
I've been trying that, and it could be a coincidence, but I listed 2 Polish T-shirts for Polish people, and I put a note in there like that. I said, to find more attractive Polish t-shirts, please search Birdie or Robin's Tees Polish.
Yeah,
And I sold 2 different Polish
Yeah.
t-shirts the very next
it's
day.
a good idea. It tends to
So-
lead to multiple sales.
That's
Or it gives you a better chance of having multiple sales.
It's okay. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for your talk. It was great. I'm thinking back to the point where you said you only really need a keyword once in the listing for it to be, kind of indexed by Amazon.
Yes.
I'm thinking of a blog post that Neil wrote about how he kind of repeated the keyword phrase in the brand and the title,
You could do that.
and it actually ranked higher compared to one which just had it in the title.
That's interesting. I haven't actually tested that myself.
Okay.
If that's the case, you can totally
Okay.
test it.
Okay.
In my experience, it's been, with my FBA experience, learning from the forums, they tell you that you only need a keyword once and that's it. So my thought was, because it's Amazon, it's the same platform. If it's true for FBA, then it's probably true for merch. So that was my thought process. But Amazon changes things, so they could have changed that. I can admit, yeah.
I don't know.
We're done?
No, I think David-
Oh, no, you're not allowed to have it. Take it away.
I have one question.
Okay.
How would you keyword a spider shirt?
I will
A spider shirt wearing bacon. Riding a cat.
I will defer that question to Chris.
I don't sell enough shirts. I don't have
Do you have any recommendations for keywording for group purchases or to link shirts together so people would buy many shirts at the same time? Like couple shirts or group shirts or things like that?
So keyword suggestions as in what keywords you might use for something like that?
Yeah, like you've seen like the thing 1, thing 2, thing 3 shirts, but we can only list one design per
Oh, I
listing.
see.
So if you want somebody to, let's say, buy all 3 of the set,
Yeah.
what would you recommend for keywording on that?
I would definitely put down in the listing, probably in the bullets and description, just in case they only view one or the other, that it is part of a set, and they need to click on your brand to find the other one. I've done that before, and that way they know where to look. Use alternative words for set, because somebody might not use set, they might use pair. Find a way to tell them to click on your brand and look for the other one so that they can find the pair. And oftentimes what Amazon will do below, if it's already been sold once, below the listing, you will find Amazon says something like, this person who's bought this has also bought that, and it will often be that set. But yeah, tell them.
So 2 questions. One is, when you were saying like using the keyword once, did you mean once per listing or once per section? Like,
And I do it once per listing,
and the title usually then?
usually the title.
So the other thing is, you're saying that you think they only check the keyword once, it only has to be in there once, but isn't that kind of ignoring a long tail keyword? Like a long tail keyword is more than one word, but it's still called a keyword, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, when you look up keyword search results, there's some long tail keywords that have a lot of results, and if you don't put it in that exact order, it's not that long tail keyword.
Yeah, I think that's more of a Google index result thing, where it's the long tail keywords. Amazon doesn't really work like that quite the same. It's not about the order, and it's not about reusing it in a certain order at all. It's just, if it's in there once, it shows up for it in any order at all. So if you have t-shirt somewhere in your listing, but it's not even connected to the word cute, but it's somewhere else in your listing, and you were to type all those words together, then your shirt would still show up, as long as it has all of them in there somewhere, if
So
that makes sense.
Do you think would you rather repeat a word or ignore related words? You know what I mean? Like if you had to say cat 5 times to fit words that make sense, like in a readable sentence.
I wouldn't do it. No, I'd use alternative words for cat, because it's more important for me to find alternative words that somebody else might use. Kitty, kitten. If you don't have that in there and you're using cat again, then you're really missing out on an opportunity to get the sale for kitten. Yeah, feline, yeah.
Thank you, this is really helpful. So one other thing about keywording, t-shirt, tee.
I do that.
Do you do all the variations?
Yes, I tend to try to. And again, some people can make the mistake of using it in a list format and then it looks really spammy. You don't want your listing to look spammy. You want to weave it in naturally. So at the end of one sentence, you might say t-shirt. At the end of another sentence, you might say top. You might say just shirt, things like that. But yeah, I do try to use a couple different variations of the most popular.
But I read somewhere Amazon sort of figures out it's a t-shirt, so you don't necessarily need to do T-shirt, t-shirt.
You might not necessarily have to. I've actually done testing on this myself because I wondered that very thing. And the last time I tested it, which I think was about a month ago, I wrote a listing and I had a couple different listings where one of them I had all the variations, another one I only had one to see if it would accommodate, and another one I had, had a couple. And the shirt that did not accommodate, I only had one version, did not show up when I put in the different word. So to me, that personal test, everybody should be testing. You should all test what works for you to make sure that you know exactly what it is. But that's something that you can easily do. You can make a design, put it up there, another different design, put it up there, and see which one will show up when you actually type it in. So I use the variations, yeah.
And we'll have a couple of special guests tomorrow who will hopefully be able to answer these
Good,
with
yes.
some definitive, and then we can take that information and pass it along to
Yes.
as many groups as possible.
Yeah, make sure that you do your own testing and take it from the source. Tomorrow will be the source. I'm not the source.
Are you going in and editing after the fact, adding keywords, changing descriptions, things of those nature, if you're not getting the sales you were expecting, or at any time are you going in and editing?
Yes, no, definitely I've done that before. Sometimes I've gotten lazy with it and I didn't put in as many as I wanted, and I wanted to see if, I did a little bit of keyword work, if it would improve my sales. And if it does, it means it was the keywords, and if it didn't, it might mean it was the niche or it was the design and it's just not selling well. So yeah, if you have the time to do that, then I would definitely go and boost up your keywords, see if it makes a difference.
Second question is, if you have you ever noticed when you go in to edit the description, etc., it won't display on the website itself? I mean, you can go back in and click edit and it'll be in there, it's saved, but it won't display on the website.
So you mean it won't change?
Yeah, you change around like your whole description, for example. It's like hung up somewhere. It's not actually displaying on the site.
I think I do remember that happening a couple times, but it's been a while, and I think that's just a bug that probably is going to be fixed at some point.
Neil does not have a question. That's what he was trying to say.
He shouldn't have any questions.
If it's quick, because we're way over time.
Yeah.
I saw a very powerful example of using keywords. I was looking for a specific phrase that I heard, and there were a whole bunch of merch shirts up. So I thought, well, I'm not going to put that shirt up then. But there was one shirt that was not the phrase. And I looked at the shirt, and I thought, this word I'm looking for isn't even really in this design. It happened to be my friend's shirt. I know her brand. But so I read all of her bullet points and everything, and she had stuck that one word in there. And because that word was in there, that shirt came up with this other niche. And so it showed me how powerful using different keywords. Somebody may have seen that shirt and thought, oh, that's really cute, I'm going to buy that, even though they weren't searching for it. But because she had that extra word in there, it popped up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. It's very powerful, but you have to be careful with that, because if it isn't relevant, then you run the risk of, oh, it was relevant. Okay. If it's relevant, then that's that's important.
We went way over time. Lanelle, thanks so much for all the information. And thanks for staying extra, taking all of the questions.
I just got my first 2 sales 5 minutes ago.
Lori got her first 2 sales. You're buying drinks. First round on Lori, right? So guys, thanks for staying late. I know we went a little late, but I kind of got the feeling that everybody in here was more than happy to sit here and listen and get the questions answered by Lanelle and all the information that she shared. We're starting up again, same place, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So go out tonight, have dinner with somebody. If you're not in the Facebook group, just search for